Go ahead and call the meeting to order. I do have a quorum. And Dr. Gooch, if you'd lead us in the pledge. Thank you. I had heard that you were excited about doing that today. Takes us to B and C, adoption of the regular and consent agendas. Need a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Takes us to recognitions. Dr. Allen?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Tonight we are first going to introduce Mrs. Galvin and Miss Mueller to talk a little bit about the Sniobar Elementary STEM Club. So come on up and chat about your group's accomplishments.
And we were awarded third place for our submission. And we won a $20,000 grant that our school can use for STEM materials.
Quinton Land. Ariana Lewis. Yes. Johanna Burnside. Sebastian Mora. Bryce Harleman. Tucker Herbaugh. And Grant Galvin.
Congratulations, team.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Next up, we have Mrs. Michelson and the students from the MMEA All-State Children's Honor Choir. So if you all would come on up, you are up next.
Hello. we have one student who's absent tonight. She has flu B, so she's very sad to miss. On January 24th, these 5 young ladies, well, 4, they had auditioned in November to be a part of the Missouri Music Educators Association's All-State Honor Choir. It works the same way as what a lot of the secondary people do. They had to work on singing correct pitches and correct intervals and that kind of thing. And they were chosen to come sing in the honor choir that was held on January 24th. And some of the songs that they sang had different languages. One of them was Swedish, one of them was Samoan, and we worked really hard on learning all of that. And they came and we went down to Osage Beach, and they spent a whole day with about 100, 200 other kids from around the state of Missouri, and they performed their music for us that night, and it was a really good time. So, good job. The girls that are Lainey Stoffergan, Annie Riley, Emmeline Davis, Jane Camarda, and then Charlie Hansel is the girl that is absent tonight. So, good job.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you. And next up, we have our students from All-State Band with Mr. Meserly. So if you all would come on up, we've got a few recognitions there.
All right, so we're also missing one student who had Eagle Scout board review tonight, kind of a testament to how busy these kids really are. They auditioned initially for the district honor band in the fall. On top of all their school responsibilities, on top of marching band and everything else, they took the time to learn additional materials. And we had 3 students who, after making that initial band, went to the all-state auditions in Columbia early in December and were selected for either the honorable mention band or the all-state band itself. So first, I'd like to recognize Nathan Stokes, who's not here tonight, who made the honorable mention band. And if we could also recognize, please, Caden Myers. And then we have Julia Bledsoe, who actually made the all-state band, which is quite an accomplishment. As a member of the band, she got to travel down to the Missouri Music Educators Conference in the end of January, rehearsed with other outstanding musicians from across the state, and got to put on just a really tremendous concert with Colonel Schofield from the United States Air Force Band conducting. The accomplishment is even more impressive in that Julia is a freshman, and there's not very many freshmen that make the all-state band. So congratulations.
Can you, would you tell us what instruments the kids made?
I'm sorry. Nathan and Caden both play percussion, and Julia plays French horn.
Nice, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Mr. Myers and some folks from South Middle School to do a little school board recognition, school board month.
All right, thank you. My name is Jim Myers, and I'm the principal at South Middle School. If the rest of my folks could come on up with me, that would be great at this time. You don't have to go out there just yet. But I am going to introduce you, so maybe you should. You're going to run out there. Okay, come up here with me, guys. I am joined tonight by some staff members and some students, and I'm going to go ahead and introduce them before we get started. First, I have Cody Byington, who's our art teacher. She has contributed greatly to some of the things you're going to get tonight. And Corey Henson. Miss Henson? Please stand up. Thank you. She is our student council sponsor. And our students tonight, I have 5 8th grade leaders that are with us tonight. Olivia Helfrey. Please raise your hand, Olivia. Miles Jurgensmeyer. Shay Haywood. Bella Turner. And Malachi Green. All right, I think we're going to lead it off with a video, I think, that Dr. Gooch is going to start for us. A thank you from South Middle School.
I want to express my heartfelt thanks to the school board for their great support for our school.
Your dedication and hard work have helped us achieve great milestones and provided us with good quality education.
We are grateful for your commitment to our school for all that you do.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Tyler Schmidt. I teach 8th grade science at South Middle School. I'm also this year's summer school director for middle school and high school. I just wanted to take a little bit of time to appreciate you all on School Board Appreciation Month. I can't imagine the amount of stress and time that you all put into listening to our community's needs and wants and doing what you can to make the best decision for all of the people involved within our community. My wife and I are so happy to be in this school district, both as teachers, but also moving our family from where we were in Independence to here. We are fully invested to be here in Green Valley. This truly is a destination school
I'm so
district.
excited for all the stuff happening at the school. I know you guys will make it happen and make it fun. Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you to the school board for all you do for us. We have such a great school system. I moved here about 9 years ago with the intent of being here so that my kids can go to school here. I have 2 kids in Prairie Branch and we absolutely love it. And I love working at South Middle. So thank you for everything that you do for making our schools so great. We appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you for your service to our school.
Almost 20 years ago in 2005, my husband and I moved ourselves and our 1-year-old son to Green Valley, strictly because of the school system. We knew that we wanted to raise our children in the Green Valley community and have them go through the Green Valley schools. In 2015, I earned a position here at Green Valley South Middle School as a 6th grade English teacher and have been here ever since. Can't say enough about Green Valley and the schools, and so much of that is because of the wonderful school board that we have and all of the work that you guys put in every single day. So thank you for what you do, and we absolutely love Green Valley.
You make our school awesome. We appreciate the efforts. We love our school board. Thank you so much.
My name's Alex Brandenburg, and I'm in my 2nd year teaching in Green Valley. And this is a place I'm so thankful to be at. I'm so glad that I was able to come here and to work, and I really can't imagine being anywhere else. I'm also just thankful that I'm able to send my kids to this school district. They love their experience, and as parents, my wife and I have been so thrilled with the experience they've had in the Green Valley School District. So thank you so much for everything you do. We really do appreciate everything you do for our school to help staff and administrators, and most importantly, as students in our buildings. So thank you.
Thank you for all you do at our schools.
Hi, I'm Amanda Sherman, and this is my 2nd year as a counselor at South Middle School. I feel incredibly blessed to be a part of this district, and I could not imagine working anywhere else. I thank you so much for the hard work that you put into making Green Valley schools so wonderful. Your support does not go unnoticed. Thanks.
Just want to thank you for all the support that you give us and all the things you do for our schools. And this is from the Green Valley South Middle Student Council. We're here to say thank you.
All right, Bella, if you could come up. So Bella's a member of she's an 8th grader who's a member of our speech and debate team, and she has a couple words for you.
I just wanted to come and say thank you for all that you do. We really appreciate all the support and the stuff that you do for all of the schools in our district. And I appreciate all the voluntary work and the hard work and time that you dedicate out of your day to come and help make our schools a better place. So, thank you.
All right, Olivia, come on up. Olivia Helfrey is an 8th grader. She is an outstanding art student, and she has made some gifts for you tonight. She's made origami eagles for each of our board members, and If you guys could kind of maybe help pass them out, that would be great.
Thank you very much. That's cool.
Okay, Miles, you're next. Okay, this is Miles Jurgensmeyer. We have a kindness club at South Middle School, and they have created thank you cards for each of you, and Miles is going to go ahead and hand those out for us. Yeah, you might have to. Maybe a couple of your friends can help too. It's all good.
It is a puzzle. Thank you.
While they're doing that, Shay Haywood has some cookies for you that were made by our fax class. Go ahead and hand those out, Shay, as well.
Cookies?
They're really good, I have to tell you. I took a couple out of Mr. Pollard's bag, and that's how I know.
Thank you very much.
We have one more gift that we would like to share with you before we wrap this up. Mrs. Byington helped us create basically a thank you painting that we hope that you can display somewhere that's meaningful to you from South Middle School to the school board.
Thank you.
Oh, I just want to say one more thing. Thank you for everything you guys do. I think public schools, one of the measures of a community are great public schools, and we cannot do that without a great school board. So thank you very much from South Middle School.
All right, if we could have South Middle School stand up for a photo and have our board members join us as well, that would be great.
Thank you to everybody at South Middle School for stepping up. Yes, so we're gonna take a picture of our Battle of the Brains group. Awesome.
Got too much stuff to take home tonight.
Congratulations, Battle of the Brains. In recognition of School Board Appreciation Month, I also have a proclamation to read from the governor that was delivered through Missouri School Boards Association. So each of our board members have certificates in front of them. This is a proclamation. I'm going to drop some of the proclamation language. A system of public quality education is essential to the future of our state and nation, and the people of Missouri have a long tradition of support for public education in their local school districts. Local school boards are the ultimate expression of a unique American institution of representative governance of public school districts, and local school boards acting on behalf of and in close connection with the people of their communities chart the direction of education in their communities. And local school boards serve as the key community advocate for children, youth, and the public schools. So the governor of the state of Missouri, Michael L. Parson, recognizes School Board Recognition Month. So congratulations from the governor.
That brings us to patron comments. Excuse me. Any school district patron may present information to the board at this time. Presentations will be limited to no more than 5 minutes. The board will not take any action on any issue not included on published agenda. However, all comments will be taken into consideration by the board. Patrons are requested not to discuss individual faculty, staff, or students. Patrons are reminded that this is a public forum and comments relative to individuals could result in litigation. However, any patron may request to meet with the board in executive session. No response will be given at this time. That's fine. So there wasn't anybody signed up. Do we have anybody that would like to address the board at this time? Also, parents and families of the kids that were recognized, you're more than welcome to stay the rest of the night, but if you need to leave or want to leave, this would be the time to do it.
Congratulations again, everybody. Thank you
you.
for coming out.
No. I want to do. He did.
Yes, he had his hand up.
I missed it. Maybe Dad did that on purpose.
Thank you, guys.
Superintendent report up first.
Yes, a couple of highlights, and then we'll answer any questions in the report. Our ballot measure campaign is underway. We have been updating information on the website, made more resources available. We have put frequently asked questions up there, just kind of explaining the difference between a bond and a levy and other types of things that people are curious about on the levy campaign. We also released a summary YouTube video this week. Again, just kind of introducing the community again to what we're trying to do with the levy. We promoted 2 community engagement events that were held on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. I would say not well attended because nobody showed. But we, in addition to promoting those, I mean, we do have more than 24 community group engagements scheduled. And so we knew we were catching a lot of people that would normally want to be engaged. But we did offer those open-ended events for people that maybe aren't associated with another group. We just didn't have anybody show up for those. But we do have a link on our website. If there is a neighborhood or community group that isn't already engaged with us in some other way and they would like to request a guest speaker to come and talk about the levy, they can do that as well. The other highlight I want to bring, we recently announced our finalists for Teacher of the Year and Support Staff of the Year. So we want to publicly recognize the names at this meeting that have already been put out on social media. But our support staff finalists of the year are Cindy Keaton, Kayla Yardley, Lisa Johnson, Amy Shepard, and Matt Wilson. And our finalists for Teacher of the Year are Courtney Michael, Corey Workman, Brianna Nicholson, Melanie Brockhouse, and Tricia Hansen. And we will have those, the winners for each of the 2 categories brought to the April board meeting. And with that, we would answer any other questions on anything else in the administrative report.
Any questions for Dr. Welly?
You also have attached our financial summary and a construction update that features the work at the field house at the high school. We're still on track to take possession of the new weight room in April. And once we're in the new weight room, then renovations will be underway in the temporary weight room, which will be the varsity locker rooms moving forward. That's an existing space that will be renovated. And then we're on track to take the rest of the building for the first day of school in the fall.
I was in there today doing an inspection, and they were hanging the basketball goals. 10 of them.
Did you pass inspection, Eddie?
They did.
Yeah. Dr. Welly, quick question, or anybody, do we know, are there going to be new weights in the weight room?
Nick?
Yes.
Okay.
So part of the package was new weight equipment. So in the previous weight room, we had 16 racks with weights and dumbbells and so on. And now in the new space, we will have a full, complete custom set of 20. So even more capacity than we previously had. So
I
all
was
new.
tasked from my nephew to ask that this evening, and then my other nephew wanted to know what we were doing with the old weights.
That is to be determined. We have. So unfortunately, that has kind of been. There's been some communication with other districts in the area who would be willing to, take some of these or buy some of these from us. There's crazy enough as it sounds. There's market for the plates, but there's not a market for the other equipment. And so we have, like I said, we've had some dialogue with one local smaller school district who is interested in purchasing some of that. And then the rest of it would be surplus that is not taken from there, so.
If you need help, I do know some organizations that would be interested in them, so.
That would be great, thank
Okay.
you.
Yep.
Nick, when we surplus, do we go through Purple Wave or any of those kind of online selling vendors?
We try. I'm not familiar with the one that you mentioned. There are some other Missouri groups that Mr. Getz is aware of, and he has reached out to some of those, and again, there's not been a lot of interest. So again, it's the plates that are, but it's also hard to come and get those as well. And I'll tell you, out of most of the plates that we have, really the only interest that anyone has are the ones that are colored. So they're kind of a rubber or a plastic plate versus just the old pot metal ones. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
I did have a question in the superintendent's report. With on the student services, when it talked about the climate survey, I cannot remember if we have addressed that this year. I think in the past, and I'm not sure if we've revisited and we drilled down on the data that was presented there, or I think previously we'd seen the results to the entire survey, and so I just didn't know if this was new news or we're revisiting it from the fall. Does that question make sense? I'm looking at
This particular report, and I'll let Dr. Allen correct me, but this particular report is just sharing with the board the portion of the survey that is part of our requirement to reporting to the state. So since we're reporting it to the state
at this time,
we're sharing it with the board now.
Okay, that made sense to me. I just wanted to clarify on that.
Yep, thank you.
Anything else? Takes us to the MSBA report.
Welcome to the February edition of the Missouri School Boards Association's Board Report. We begin with a look back at the governor's State of the State address last month. On January 24th, Governor Parson delivered his annual State of the State address, which laid out his legislative agenda. Putting people first was the theme of Governor Parson's address. His annual speech to the state legislature marks his final one as Missouri's 57th governor. Education was once again a focus. During his speech, the governor detailed the progress his administration has made in education funding, teacher pay, and workforce development.
And this year, as we propose our final priorities as governor, there is no turning back. We know that guaranteeing Missouri's strong foundation starts with a quality education in our children. This year, we will once again fully fund the K-12 foundation formula with an additional $120 million over last year's level, and we will also fully fund transportation across the state of Missouri.
In addition to fully funding the Education Foundation formula, the governor also wants a $4 million increase in state funding to boost teacher pay.
This year, to do our part on teacher pay, we are including funding to increase teacher baseline pay to $40,000 per year. This represents a $15,000 increase for teacher pay during our administration.
There are many other issues being considered in the current session of the General Assembly that are of great interest to MSBA and school board members throughout the state. As the legislative session progresses, we will keep you updated on the developments again this year through our Legislative Voice newsletter sent to members via email each Friday during the session, through critical issue alerts and periodic webinars. We urge you to stay in contact with your legislators during the session and communicate to them the impact legislation will have on your school district. Don't miss your chance to visit your legislator at the Capitol during MSBA's Advocacy Day. Known formerly as Legislative Forum, Advocacy Day is scheduled for April 9th in Jefferson City. The event will be preceded by a spring virtual meeting on March 13th and lunch and learn sessions on Fridays to provide legislative updates on the issues that matter to you. Check the MSBA website for registration information for all of these events. MSBA is also pleased to sponsor School Board Recognition Month in March, as proclaimed by Governor Parson. It's a great opportunity for school districts and communities to recognize the great work of school board members and the important role local boards of education play as leaders of our public schools. Visit the MSBA website for ideas to celebrate and materials created to help recognize the important contributions of these men and women and focus attention on the vital role these public officials play in the education of Missouri's children. On January 29th, a webinar co-presented by the Missouri School Boards Association, the Missouri Association of Counties, and the Missouri Municipal League was held to educate attendees on the challenges posed by artificial intelligence and how it might impact local elections. Speakers discussed how AI tools, specifically deepfakes, are being used to shape public opinion and impact the democratic process. MSBA Executive Director Melissa Randall said that although misinformation in elections isn't new, AI takes it to another level.
We do have some concerns, like you, with our candidates being subjected to some misinformation and disinformation that's generated by AI. Now, that's not something new. We all know, sitting at this table, there has been a lot of disinformation, especially in recent years, that's been circulated to impact elections, especially local elections. But AI is going to take that to another level, as you both have already reflected on, and it's going to impact school boards just like it is both of your memberships. And so, again, it emphasizes the importance of us working together to educate our communities about what is a deep fake, what is, how can you do a better job of identifying misinformation and disinformation, whether or not it's generated by AI. We ought to all be tethered to the truth instead of trying to be influenced by stuff that isn't accurate or isn't factual.
The webinar also featured presentations that provided an introduction to AI, a cybersecurity overview, and legal considerations. To view the archived recording of this webinar, visit the AI resources page on the MSBA website. And finally, John McDonald's Center for Education Safety team will host a 2-day Behavioral Risk Assessment Summit for K-12 school threat management on March 6th and 7th in Columbia. This is an amazing opportunity for individuals and school leadership teams to learn from the leading experts in school safety.
I've supported the response and recovery of 7 school shootings in my career, and I can't emphasize enough the importance of this summit. Our schools continue to see an increase in threats at an alarming rate. Classroom behaviors continue to challenge the learning environment. We can change this trend. We can fix these issues. From prevention to behavioral risk assessment, from threat management to understanding the current trends in school violence, this conference will give you the tools to help make a difference in your community.
If your school team has yet to receive basic behavioral risk assessment training, a free pre-conference training day will be available on March 5th. Visit the MSBA website for more details. That's it for this month. Thanks for allowing us to have some time at your board meeting, and we'll see you in March for the next MSBA Board Report.
That takes us to new business. First up is the budget amendment.
Yes, this is an action item tonight, and this is the time of year that we start to look ahead to June when we close out our fiscal year. And so we bring the board some budget amendments tonight to kind of clean things up, things we already know that are going to need to be corrected rather than waiting until June to come back and amend those. So the amendment that you have in front of you, the major items that are included in here, we were awarded a safety grant for $250,000 in the fall, so that had an impact on our revenue. And then you'll see it down below. It also had an impact on our expenditures. And then up above in our revenues, we had a pretty significant adjustment to transportation aid due to some updated information. And then one of the other larger expenditures is increased due to E-rate purchases, which is our reimbursement we get off of qualified spending that we do. But we have Mr. Hooper joining us tonight, Director of Finance. He's here to help us answer any specific questions that you might have on this budget amendment.
Are there any questions for Aaron?
What updated information did we get for transportation?
Excuse me, in the monthly memos, they just come out with, we estimated based off of our expenditures for last year, since we knew it was gonna be fully funded, we know what that amount is. And so this year, we're starting to get the newer numbers on what they're gonna be paying out this year. So, that's what we updated it to.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? This is an action item, so I'd ask for a motion to approve the amendment to the 2023-2024 budget as presented. I have a motion and a second. Lance?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
I'm a yes. Jeff?
Yep.
Julie? Jared? Yes. Motion passes. Takes us to 3 new FTEs.
Yes, we bring these back. These were 3 that were on the list last month. These are priorities that we want to do for next year. And the reason these 3 are coming to the board now, it's not uncommon for us this time of year to get pre-approval for next year's new positions, because these particular positions are highly competitive. And if we wait until June, when you actually approve the final budget, we would be in tough shape trying to get these 3 positions filled. So that's why you're seeing them now. These 3 are not directly tied to the levy, so these would be commitments we would make regardless of the outcome of the election in April. But you see the impact there. Those are estimated impacts. That's what we estimate. When we actually hire a teacher to fill a position, then the costs are adjusted a little bit based on the experience and their education level that they bring in. But this is the estimate that we use to plan a budget.
And this is total impact, right? Benefits and everything?
Yes.
Any questions for Dr. Welly?
Yeah. So, based on the last meeting and the highest priorities, I didn't realize that we were going to be requesting anything until after the levy was put through or hopefully passed. I personally have a little harder time approving any additional positions until we know what we need for security based on the security audit. I know we've tied or partially tied more resource officers to the levy, but I'd like to entertain or talk through it with the board about potentially amending this motion to add the SRO to this motion.
You want to talk through that?
Yeah, we have specifically tied the SRO to the passage of the levy. That was something that the board felt really strongly about. And so that position probably does need to be, we do need to wait and make sure that we pass the levy.
Well, I mean, yes, it's been tied to the levy, but do we have to wait until the levy passes, hopefully, to secure that position?
The board could choose to do it ahead of time, but my recommendation would be, since we're campaigning that we need the levy to fund the SRO, that we should wait till we pass the levy. That would be my recommendation, but you're right, the board could choose to do that sooner if needed.
And Nick, when are we gonna get the the full results or the summary of the security audit?
Yeah, so last week I received the high schools, so it's coming one school at a time. I received the high schools last week. I will tell you it was 160 pages. It took me a little bit of time to read through that. I received 2 more about an hour and a half ago. And so I've got 3 of the buildings so far. I haven't spent any time with the 2 that we received today. And then the email that was from the group said that I should receive the other ones by next week, hopefully. So the assessor that was local who did this, of course, then he puts all his stuff into it and then he sends it over back to the Center for Safe Schools, and they have to, they write it up and put their stamp of approval on it as well. So it takes time. The length of time, in my opinion, was a little bit longer than I expected. But I would say that if the email stays true to what I was told earlier today, hopefully I'll have everything back by the end of next week, and I can go through and bring you a kind of an executive summary of what all of the reports say. I wouldn't expect you guys to want to read through what's looking to be over 1,000 pages. So it's my job.
That would be, sorry to interrupt, that would be at the March meeting, we'd have a summary available.
Correct.
And are you developing the executive summary, or is that something that they should be doing for us?
Basically, I'm going to take the summaries of all the different buildings and put it together for one document for you.
So they do produce a summary.
Yeah,
within
but
the-
it's in sections. It's really not at the end of the document. The way that they assessed everything, they broke it down into sections. So really, what I'll be doing is taking pieces from every assessment and bringing it to you guys. So it's going to be easier for you to digest something that's going to still probably be, I would assume 30 or 40 pages, but it's better than 1,000.
And
go ahead.
Oh, and if we decided to table this motion until the next meeting, what could that do?
It just makes us less competitive. These are positions, these teaching positions. I mean, with the, as we've seen, one of the reasons for the levy and to be more competitive with our pay is our application count is roughly 50% of what it was just 4 years ago. So it's not uncommon for us at this time of year, either in January or February, to bring to the board 1 to 3 positions that are high priority and highly competitive, to go ahead and get those posted so that we can maximize our opportunity to get the most qualified people in to do these jobs. The others on the list don't fall into that category. We feel like we could fill those at a later time, and so we don't want to commit any additional new funding for next year's budget prior to flushing out and approving next year's budget. But again, this is when people are being offered jobs by other districts, and for us to compete with the big dogs, this is a move that we've done the last few years, usually in January or February.
And just so I understand, so the North Middle School 6th grade teacher, for example, what does that do? Does that open up another classroom and make classes smaller?
Yes, it'll impact class sizes at 6th grade at North Middle School, but the other thing that it does, all of our other middle school teams at both middle schools are 4-person content teams, but the 6th grade team is a 3-person content team, and they've kind of been holding in that pattern for a few years. We had told them, as we grew from when North Middle School first opened, it was 1 team per grade level, so they had 4 teachers per grade level, if I remember right. That was roughly the count. And then as they grew into a second team at each of the 3 grade levels, they went to 2 teachers, so they had 6 per grade level, and then in some cases 7, but you don't want to stay stuck in a 3-person team or a 7-person grade level for very long, because that means that you have 1 teacher who is teaching 2 of the subjects for the kids, and the scheduling for a group of 75 to 100 middle schoolers in 3 teachers spots instead of 4 teacher spots, it's just a more complicated place to be. So yes, it'll impact class sizes, but it also is it's just a more effective way to manage the school day and improve the experience for those 6th grade students.
So that, since you talked about that, the English language learner, is that an additional person for that topic?
Yeah, it's just for that program. We've had one teacher teaching our English language learners for the last several years. That group is approaching 40 students throughout the district, and we have one teacher for 40 students in at least 3 of our schools. So just from a scheduling standpoint, just the quality of services we're providing are, as that group grows in size, the quality of services diminishes our ability to put time in. And then on the high school girls PE teacher, with the square footage that we're adding at the high school with the new, the second gymnasium, we only have one female PE teacher at the high school, and this is a request that they actually asked for a year ago, but we told them we really, for the other priorities we had a year ago at this time, we needed them to just hold on for this. So from a supervision standpoint, it's just from a programming and supervision, it's going to allow girls more flexibility in terms of what our offerings are for PE, so that we can have a supervision position that is more comparable to what we can do for the boys at the high school. But this will just be the second girls PE teacher at the high school for all the students that we have up there.
Jeff, I'm with you. I think if I understood what you were saying, that I understood that we'd be adding more security personnel if it was on the wish list, last month or the month before the language for the ballot measure was approved.
Yes, and that's still the commitment. I mean, it's beyond the wish list. We've told the community that that's specifically why we're bringing a levy at this time. So, I mean, I don't know that the board could speak with any more higher priority than that, because it's listed specifically. We're campaigning on it basically in our campaign for improved security, and we've been campaigning that, because people ask, well, what do you mean by security? So we said, the board says that we're committed to adding at least one school resource officer with the passage of the levy.
And without the passage of the levy?
Well, then we'll have a decision to make. But we're moving forward with optimism and full speed ahead, just working to pass that levy.
Yeah, I mean, I support the need for added staff members. I mean, just
Yeah.
by listening to that, I would also support adding another security personnel.
Here's the message that I hope I haven't sent tonight by bringing this forward, is that those priorities and that wish list, that these are the only things that are a priority. The only reason that we bring these now is for that competitive edge of being posted. So everything else that's on the priority list, those are all things, they're still the same level of priority. We're just going to be able to fill them if we wait and post them in the spring. Because we want to have as few positions before we pass next year's budget that are going to impact next year's budget. We want to do as least as possible to tie our hands now.
So you don't feel like that any of the other priority lists, position lists that we have is necessary to bring it this time? These are the only 3 that you feel like are necessary to bring it this time?
Yes, that's correct. It's just timing.
But it doesn't mean that the other ones aren't still priority, that
Absolutely.
They're still going to be something. What then, if these are approved now, regardless of what happens with the levy, we're still stuck
We're
with
committed to these, yes.
If the budget is what it is, and what we're hoping that it's going to be, then we're good to be able to, we've already built in to be able to handle these positions.
These would be built in right off the top. These would be commitments right off the top.
So these are funded regardless of the levy.
Correct. These are commitments that we would make regardless of the outcome of the levy.
How many open positions do we have this year, roughly?
Certified position?
Yeah, certified.
Do we have an update from HR in this month's report on how many certified openings we had?
Yes, it wasn't a lot right yet. I can go back and take a look.
I was just gonna
Yeah,
share,
it
we got a
was
resignation today,
possible.
so it's sort of a day by day right now.
It's that time of year.
Hired two today, we got a resignation today. So I mean, I would just say it's ever changing, but we do think we have a competitive edge any hiring that we get to do in February, beginning of March versus later in March towards April.
I think,
I mean, is it like 6? Is it like 30?
are you asking how many positions did we have that just were never filled?
Yes,
For the,
yes,
for the
Oh,
year?
I think we filled all of our certified positions
Okay.
this year,
Okay.
yes. Sorry.
So I just want to make sure those were covered before we were adding more.
And anybody that we lose between now and the end of the year would be funded as well, because they're just taking a spot that's already full.
Right. Correct.
Okay.
So how hard would it be to find room in the budget for the SRO?
It's just as hard as it is to find any other. I think, what did we have? You have your list in front of you. What was the estimated budget for an SRO?
80,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's just money off the top. It would change our campaign. We would have to retract what we've been saying in our campaign.
I don't know that we would. I mean, if we approved an SRO with this group and we passed the levy, it'd give us an opportunity to still fund one additional, making it 5 instead
Right,
of 4.
but we still wouldn't post and hire that SRO until after the passage of the levy, just from a timing standpoint.
Yeah, I think you have to be careful. If we've been telling people we're gonna hire an SRO with the levy, and we hire an SRO now, it makes it look like we didn't really need to wait for the levy. It just, it gives a wrong message, or it feels to me it gives a wrong
Yeah.
message.
I mean, the flip side of that just says that we have decided it's time to make sure that security's up front as well as teacher positions and teacher pay. Just a thought.
Additional discussion? I think based on what Jeff and Lance have brought up, we'll put the motion forward and see if it passes for these three, or if it doesn't, then Dr. Welly will go back with his team.
But I don't see these three putting an SRO position necessarily at risk. I guess that's
I don't either.
my opinion. We're not saying that there's a window here, and if we miss this window tonight, we don't get an SRO. We're just saying we approve these three positions. If the levy doesn't pass, it's the board's decision whether or not we find money somewhere or not. And if we find, there's going to be sacrifices. If we don't pass the levy, there's going to be a lot of sacrifices. So I guess my point is, I don't feel like this is an all or nothing thing. We can approve these three, and if we wanted to, next month, we could come back and approve an SRO, or we can campaign and do it after the levy. But for me, it's just not an all or nothing type of approach. It's, we need these three right now. Finding an SRO, I think, is going to be very difficult as well. I think it's pretty tough right now to find those positions, police officer positions.
If I
But
may, Jared.
that's
Chief
a little
Turner,
different.
if I can throw you under the bus a little bit. As far as applications, both for your officers and for SROs, is it getting any easier? Please. Since you're here. Because I know in discussions, that you and I have in the hallway at work, the officers are still hard to find.
Yeah, the market's is pretty flat across the area. There's other cities that are making stabs, particularly Kansas City, that's going to make it even more difficult for the metro, the way they're structuring their pay. We currently have 2 vacancies in our staff, with applicants in the chute trying to get in, but we've been fortunate to add to our staff of late. So, but to answer your question, we have 2 vacancies now, and but that's the way it is across the region and across the country. It's just a struggle to find the people at times.
Is it harder to find the school resource guys or the street guys, or does it matter?
It seems to be the same.
Okay.
Because we just posted that recently, and it seemed to be the turnout was similar in the processes.
So when we get the levy, even if we get to add a couple, it's going to be it could be difficult for us to get them.
Yeah, I mean, those are the unknowns of when just like you post a position, of when that gets filled. It could get filled in a couple months, or it could be an extended amount of time. That's the unknown.
Thank you. Sorry.
No worries.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Chief.
it.
I guess my point is simply, by supporting these three, I'm not saying that an SRO is not important to me. I think I can support these three and next month come back and vote for an SRO, or the month after. It is going to be tough to find the funding, and thankfully that's not my job. It's theirs, but it is our decision. So I don't feel like it's all or nothing. I feel like I can support this and come right back and support an SRO. An SRO is a priority, in my opinion. So it's not a window here where we do this and then we can't do an SRO.
Anything else?
No, it just feels a little, I think sometimes, over the last couple of years, many board meetings that I've been a part of and attended, I've heard the security conversation, the SRO conversation, come up over and over and over. And it just seems like it takes a lot longer to get, $60,000 to $100,000 allocated to security when other positions or other finances are easily placed in places that are also needed. But like I said, yeah, even a couple of years ago, attending school board meetings, there were conversations of security, SROs, private firms like Strategos, in-house security, police force, so to speak. And it just seems like there is some traction on it, but it's just very, very slow. That's my point of view. So.
Jeff, anything else? Anybody? So go ahead and run this through. Motion to approve 3 new FTE positions for the 24-25 school year as presented.
Second.
Lance?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
Jason? Yes. Jeff?
Yes, but SROs need to be a priority.
Absolutely. Julie? Jared?
Yes.
Thank you. Takes us to the draft of the salary pay schedule.
Okay, you are seeing draft pay schedules for certified and non-certified personnel, along with the rankings for the current year, with where the adjusted pay would place each category. So as a reminder, these rankings are moving targets, so actual rankings would be different. So board members, I would encourage you to start on page 1 of your packet so that we can cross-reference the draft salary schedules with what Dr. Gooch has displayed here in the room, which is the scales, the comparisons. So for example, what Dr. Gooch has up here, is this the teacher page?
This is, yeah.
So you have Grain Valley in the red, and Grain Valley in the red, along with all the other districts that are listed, these are the numbers that we brought you in October. Maybe it was early November. And then the green is where we are projecting with the new revenue, where we could put that particular job category. So the idea is to end up with a ranking at or above the midpoint. And so you can see on the teacher side, because it's easier for it doesn't take much for there to be movement. So you see, like for the new teacher column, you would see that we're targeting ranking 5th place next year, with the hope that where we actually end up is at least at a 7th place finish. Again, you know, these are moving targets. We're not the only ones that are planning to add money to these schedules. And so if we shoot for 5 and we end up with 7, then that's a good place to be. I'll also point out before I turn it over to the board for any questions, and Dr. Gooch has done a lot of work on this, so he'll help answer any questions, is on the teacher, the bottom right one there, the teacher with master's plus, what is it?
It's master's plus 40 or a specialist degree.
Yeah, so this is our highest benchmark that we're doing for comparison. And this is the place, so you see that we're targeting 8th, a rank of 8th place there, but it's still above the midpoint, but it's not as high as earlier in the salary schedule. This is a place where these teachers would stand to see a significant increase in pay, but this is also the part of the salary schedule with the most experience and the most education that it is hardest for us to compete with large area school districts that have, 4 times the tax base that we have. So anyway, that's why you see that look a little different. But we just want to open this up and really talk through this. We've got 19 pages of content here, and we want to take the discussion on whatever it is that's caught the attention of the board members this time. We bring this back because last time you saw the behind the scenes tool and you're like, all right, well, that's the tool. We want to see the actual schedules. So that's why we have this here tonight.
How does that process look when you go through to get the most amount of money to the most amount of people and really max us out in our salary? Like, what is, you know what I'm, like, how does that process go to make sure that we are able to spend appropriately? Like, if we're adding steps down, does that really impact people, like we had talked about previously, or those types of things?
How do you test it? How do we know that this is going to do what we say it's going to do?
So basically what I was able to get early on in this process is there's another spreadsheet, and I won't bring it up for you or anything, but we have a spreadsheet that shows exactly how many teachers we have in every single cell on the salary schedule. And it also tells us how many we have in each column. And so what I know right now at this point is, for example, the grouping that you see down here on the bottom right, teachers who are max at step 20 or whatever, people who are in that far right column, people who have the master's degree plus 40 or the specialist degree, we have over 100 teachers in that particular column. And then, of course, I see however many columns, and again, every single cell. So what I can do there is I can take that look, I can kind of, I have Mr. Hooper help me, and we put it over the top of where everybody's name and currently is on our current salary schedule, and then it spits out another spreadsheet that shows us exactly what every individual's raise would be if we were to pass this levy and implement the new salary schedule. And basically what it boils down to is I can see for all 350 certified staff members or teachers what every individual person's raise is. And then we have all along just chosen these 4 benchmarks as just places to try to be competitive with our neighbors. And doing this, this will guarantee that everybody sees a raise, and some of them are fairly healthy because we're the furthest behind in those particular areas. Did that answer your question? I mean, I take multiple spreadsheets and kind of layer them on top of each other, and I can look by name and tell a person exactly.
Yeah, and how do you just ensure that that is optimizing each one of those positions? Because
Certified or non-certified?
well, either,
Okay.
because sometimes I don't know if this is me not understanding, but it sounds like I input a button on a spreadsheet and then I get results. So like, how do we know what you're inputting in the first place gets us the biggest bang for the buck, right? Like, how do you know that? I don't know.
I'm only able to
you
utilize the thresholds that of comparison with
where
us.
it's not just a guess, it is the information to then input to be able to get the most output, right?
Sure. I mean, the only thing I can really do to see about
Yeah.
getting a bang for a buck is using how we compare.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, and that's tough because we know there's other levies passed in other districts. It's going to take us right back to the other place. So yes, we want to compare, but we also need to know that we're maximizing every dollar that we have.
so what I've done is if the levy does pass, we've already calculated exactly how much new revenue the school district would see. and implementing a new salary schedule and the raises for the staff. And then that money plus the small list of the FTEs that we brought forth last month, that it eats up every bit of it. So we will take, if our community is supportive, and I say if, when our community is supportive, we are maximizing it. I mean, the campaign is for staff raises and then a few other projects, and it is, if I can calculate it quickly, if I remember well, like 86% of that money is all for raises.
It was north of $3.1 million.
Yes, it was well north of $3.1 million, of 3.6. So we're getting, there are healthy raises in here because we are far behind.
So that's on the teacher side. On the non-certified side, each column is a job category. And when we compare each job category for how far below the midpoint they are, the further you are from being average in your role as an hourly employee for us, the larger your raise is for next year. So that's the metric on that one. So there's a wide range of raises depending, as you see on the comparison schedule.
Yeah, we are more competitive in some positions. In some positions, we are far from competitive.
Other questions?
Help me understand, when the governor says that the state has made every effort to get teacher salaries up, what does that mean? Does the state give us X amount of dollars to say you have to raise them? I mean, what does that mean when he says that?
When I think the statement he made was during his administration, they've raised the teacher pay by $15,000. That's because right now the law requires us to pay first-year teachers $25,000. Well, ours is $40,000. So what his administration is doing about closing that gap is basically bringing the rest of the state to what we're paying right now.
Now, is that done through the fully funding the?
That remains to be seen. To date, because it's $38,000 this year, but they do it through grants. So there are districts in the state who are paying everybody that was below $38,000. They're paying them all $38,000, regardless of how much experience that they have. And they're going to have some things to fix moving forward because they have such a flat pay schedule. But anything new that the state requires, the legislation. It's not a particularly productive legislative session this year, which is not uncommon in an election year. But some of what they are proposing would tie, the status of state revenues on whether or not the state would fund any new law that they pass. So they could say by law that teachers or districts have to pay their new teachers at least $40,000. The state will only commit to providing that extra funding in years that they hit certain benchmarks in their revenues. Otherwise, it'll be 100% on the local effort. So what you would see moving forward is a lot of levies in a lot of school districts in order to fund the new minimum requirement for the state. We're already going to be above that, so the impact it has on us is going to be competitiveness. If the whole state pays what we pay, well, now we're not just competing with Kansas City area schools, now we're competing with the whole state of Missouri. So that's probably what the impact would be on us in the next few years.
So when he says that, he's really saying, we've changed the law to say you have to pay this much, but it's at a local level.
At this point,
the state isn't doing anything to support.
At this point, there is some legislation that would provide some state funding levers, and if they can get any of those across the finish line, the one that I've seen still had the caveat that the state would only fund it if revenues hit a certain mark that year. But the law would still be the law.
Dr. Gooch, there's a few of us that just would like clarification. This proposed teacher salary, is this your proposed teacher salary with the levy passed, or if it does
Correct.
not pass? So if the levy does not pass, this is not what we're looking at.
And that would be my recommendation because of the $3.1 million additional dollars. We just do not have that in our budget.
Thank you.
You said that was roughly 86%
Correct.
of the levy dollars?
Of the levy dollars, yeah.
I was thinking it was raised like 4.2, 4.4, somewhere around there.
So the 65 cents, and you multiply that times our current assessed valuation, allows us to generate $3.6 million.
And is that 80, are the benefits included in that 86%?
Yeah.
Okay, so the 86% is paycheck or benefits?
Salary and
Staff.
benefits.
But we are,
Total impact.
but to be clear, the 3.1 million of the 3.6 million is not increase in healthcare.
No,
It's increase in pay.
that is accurate. We are,
Okay.
right, because we set our own healthcare rates as well, and that'll be a discussion later on, but that is truly in everyone's pocket.
Now, it would be salary and benefits for any new position that was on the list we shared with you last month of priorities.
But to go back to Dr. Taylor's question, yes, I mean, this salary schedule, these recommendations are solely on the passing of a levy. I wish we had $3.6 million, because then we wouldn't have to ask for a levy, but we don't. We don't have that close.
In the months ahead, Dr. Gooch and Mr. Hooper, they will start to build a framework of a budget, but they'll build two budgets, with and without, depending on the outcome of the April 2nd election. And they'll have to, because there's so much time and effort that goes into preparing a budget. We couldn't wait till April to get started on that work. So we're going to have parallel budgets underway as we move towards April.
Anything else? Okay, takes us to board scholarships.
This is also the time of year that we start to look at our scholarships. We are, this year, we have a record number of high school seniors who have put in for the school board scholarship. We have 48 applications. We have a fund balance of $20,000. The last couple of years, we've added roughly $9,000 a year to that off of ad sales on our scoreboards and other ad sales at the stadium and in our gymnasium at the high school. So what we would entertain is if we had 2 to 3 board member volunteers to, between now and as soon as 3 weeks from now, review those applications and bring back a recommendation for awarding those scholarships for the class of 2024. Last year, the board approved for 16 students to each receive $1,000. We had 25 applicants last year. So there's a couple of discussions to be had, and you don't have to make a final decision on any of it tonight, but whoever your committee is, they're probably going to be curious what their boundaries are. You have $20,000. When you're bringing in $9,000 a year, either this year or next year, we're going to have to see some type of reduction in the amount that you award. Now, if you decided that you're just going to use last year's threshold, which was an increase, and you would say, well, we're gonna go ahead and award $16,000 again, which is what we did last year. I mean, that leaves you $4,000, and then it gives you that buffer, assuming that we get $9,000 next year. We're kind of spending down the balance, but if you spend all 20 this year, then next year, I mean, we don't have the money until we have the money. So 16 might be a way to go.
I would volunteer to serve on that committee to help review those and decide.
Same.
Me too. It'll be Julie, Sarah, and I.
Okay. Mrs. Clappen has those. We can give them to you hard copy, and you pass them among yourselves. We could do them digitally, and she also has your scorecard that you've used in the past.
Yeah, I prefer paper. A hard copy, I don't want to look at them digital. Gotcha.
But we do have them hard copy.
So if I'm the only
Okay.
one, that's
Both.
fine.
Everybody good?
We'll go both. Well, April and I had talked about it. I thought it would be easier for everybody to do their computer. I'm sorry, Sarah, that,
Well, so we should divvy them up between the three of us. and then the three of us would take our top candidates and we would suggest our top candidates. I don't recommend all of us read all 48.
It's a lot. It's a
So I
big
don't recommend
stack.
that at all. So we would, yeah, we would divide it up
Truth.
between the three of us and then pick our top candidates from there and then associate from there. That's how I would recommend going about it. So
We
that,
can do that, we could still do that digitally.
correct. And I prefer paper. You could do digitally. You are right.
We'll make sure you get at least one set of paper applications. We can do this.
Thank you.
I'll send, once I get that from April, I'll send out the list and then just, we can split them up.
Okay.
And go that route. Is that all right, Julie?
Are you okay with
Are
that
you back?
process? Like, that's what I think
with
makes
us?
most sense.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
You were so accommodating.
How do you, as a board, how do you feel about the last year's amount, $16,000? If you awarded, say, 16 $1,000 scholarships, I just kind of throw that out there as a starting point for the discussion.
I'm comfortable with that as a starting point. Obviously, we want to review the applications to see kind of where we're at on that, but I'm comfortable with that as a starting point. That makes sense.
Yeah, when you get down to it, the board also recognized you had a Belcher nominee, and I'd have to look back to see if you did one, and then did you have an honorable mention this year, or am I still remembering last year? So we'd have to look at that, because that's part of our history is reviewing these applications, and then maybe going back and looking at your Belcher recipient and saying, will you give a scholarship to your Belcher nominee? So we'll get all that put together for you so that you have all that in front of you. Thank you.
To make sure that we follow sunshine and everything, any discussions that the three of us might have through email or text?
You're fine. You're not conducting business until you bring your recommendation back to the board.
Okay.
And you have a quorum with the whole board, and then we can talk about the names of who the winners are.
Okay.
Once you've awarded them.
Okay. Takes us to board policies.
So this group of policies are mostly driven by changes in recent years to medical marijuana and other marijuana-related laws in Missouri. And so it really just goes back in and cleans up the language to make it clear that from an employee standpoint, whether you have a medical marijuana, they're not called a license, but if you have a permit or use for medical marijuana, that doesn't mean, it's still not okay to come to work under the influence or to be in possession in our schools. And for our drivers in particular, they still follow transportation requirements where they can't have anything in their system. So it's really just clearing up the language that it is not okay to be under the influence for any employee or any student. And it's also, you see visitors to district property and events, it's also not okay to be in possession or using as a visitor to our property. So just because Missouri has changed their laws around medical marijuana and recreational marijuana, it doesn't mean that you can do that here. The only other topic that is addressed would be in the student discipline, although it does clarify some things around being under the influence. It also clarifies, it puts in a couple of little notes about AI, and that it is basically, it includes AI as academic dishonesty is all that it does. Now, we have more work to do about what our position is going to be with AI with students, and we think it's probably the timing of that. We'd like to come back to the board this summer with kind of what we're learning and what our approach recommendations are moving forward with AI, with student engagement. But I just wanted to point out that this stack wasn't just about marijuana, it also had a little dose of AI in it. Our departments are still working at this. The initial feedback we're getting, there's a couple of edits that we want to do to a couple of them, but they're not going to change the meeting. And next month, when we bring this back as a third read, we'll be explicit about any of those edits we're making. And if the board feels like they want more time with it, then we can table those and not make them an action item next time. But right now, the plan is bring these back as an action item at the March meeting. Any questions on those?
Okay. Jason?
I move that we adjourn and go into executive session as authorized by provisions of section 610.021 and 1, 3, and 13 of the revised statutes of Missouri. Is there a second?
Second.
Lance?
Yes.
Sarah?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Jeff?
Yeah.
Julie?
Yes.
Jared?
Yes.